That's right, a simple 1973 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, that most people wouldn't think twice about, could actually change someone's life forever. Now imagine this: you empty your pockets after a long day, toss a few pennies on the counter, and one of them, one tiny copper coin, holds the power to make you a millionaire. Sounds crazy, right? But it's already happened. And the reason why will absolutely blow your mind. The 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't supposed to be special. It looks just like any other penny, Abraham Lincoln's face on one side, the Lincoln Memorial on the other. But hidden beneath that ordinary copper surface lies a mystery that's been driving collectors wild for decades. You see, 1973 was a year when the U.S. Mint was under pressure. Inflation was rising, copper prices were climbing, and the Mint was experimenting behind the scenes with alternative metals and production methods. Somewhere in that mix, something unusual happened. A batch of pennies, without the expected mint mark, came out with strange variations. Tiny differences most people never notice. But coin experts sure did. One collector from Pennsylvania reportedly discovered his fortune purely by accident. He was sorting through a coffee can of old change, the kind we all have, when he spotted something odd about a 1973 penny. The color looked slightly different, the strike seemed sharper, and there was no mint mark under the date. Thinking nothing of it, he tossed it aside, until curiosity got the better of him. He posted a picture on a coin forum. Within hours, collectors were buzzing. By the end of the week, dealers were calling him with offers that left him speechless. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin was authenticated, experts found that it wasn't just another penny. It was one of the rarest no-mint mark 1973 Lincoln cents ever struck. Its die alignment, its luster, and its perfect, uncirculated condition made it a once-in-a-lifetime find. At auction, it sold for nearly $1 million. A single cent, turning into a small fortune. For starters, the no mint mark detail is crucial. Most 1973 pennies were struck at the Denver Mint and bear a tiny D under the date. But the ones without a mint mark came from Philadelphia, and not all of them were struck correctly. Some had unusual planchets, others had doubled dies, and a few even had unique metal compositions due to experimental changes. These oddities created a small batch of coins that looked normal but were worth far more than anyone realized. Thousands of these could still be out there, hiding in old jars, drawers, or dusty boxes in someone's attic. Every time a new one is found, its story makes headlines, because each discovery adds another layer to this ongoing mystery. Dealers say they've seen an explosion of interest in 1970s pennies lately. And for good reason. With so many transitional years and minting changes, it's like a hidden gold mine waiting to be uncovered. But among them, the 1973 no mint mark stands out, not just for its rarity, but for its almost mythical value. Collectors were shocked when they saw early auction prices. A coin that once jingled in someone's pocket now fetching 6 figures, even 7 in some cases. One man's pocket change literally became $1 million miracle. It's the kind of story that reminds everyone why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a hunt for buried treasure in plain sight. But here's the twist most people don't know. The reason this coin's value skyrocketed wasn't only because of rarity, it was condition. That particular 1973 penny was graded at nearly perfect mint state, with flawless surfaces and blazing red luster. In the world of coins, condition is everything. A worn penny might get you a few bucks, but a pristine one? That's the jackpot. So before you shrug off those old pennies sitting around, take a closer look. Use a magnifying glass. Look for that missing mint mark under the date. Examine the color. A deep, bright red finish is often a sign of a higher grade copper. Check the details in Lincoln's beard and the lines on the Lincoln Memorial. Sharp, crisp details mean better condition, and better condition means bigger money. But what happened after that Pennsylvania discovery sparked something even bigger, a nationwide rush. People across the country started rechecking their change, their old collections, even the coins stuck between couch cushions. Stories began popping up online of other lucky finds, coins that had sat forgotten for decades, now selling for tens or hundreds of thousands. And yet, the mystery continues. Experts still debate how many of these rare 1973 no-mint mark pennies actually exist. Some believe fewer than a dozen are in near-perfect condition. Others think there could be hundreds, just waiting to be found. Either way, the possibility alone has collectors glued to their magnifiers, scanning every coin like treasure hunters searching for gold. But this story isn't just about money. It's about luck, patience, and curiosity. The kind of curiosity that makes someone ask, "What if? What if the penny in your pocket is worth more than you think? What if your next trip to the grocery store brings home a coin that could pay off your mortgage?" Every collector dreams of that moment, the moment when an ordinary penny becomes extraordinary. And with the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, that dream is absolutely real. 1973. Then, look carefully under the date for a mint mark. If there's no D or S, you might have a Philadelphia strike. Now look closer, the real value lies in the details. A strong strike, a bright copper-red surface, and no visible wear are key. If you see any doubling on Lincoln's profile or the lettering, especially Liberty or In God We Trust, you could be holding an error variety worth a fortune. If you think you've found something special, don't clean it. Ever. Cleaning a coin destroys its natural surface and can slash its value in half or worse. Instead, store it carefully and take it to a professional coin dealer or grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Because you never know, your penny could be the next one to break headlines. Think about it. Somewhere, right now, someone could be walking around with a 1973 penny in their wallet that's worth $1 million, and they have no idea. That's the thrill of this hobby, the unknown, the mystery, the chance to turn the smallest piece of metal into a life-changing reward. This coin almost ended up in a coffee can full of loose change, until one man took a closer look and realized he was holding a small fortune. A simple 1968 Lincoln penny, with a tiny S mint mark beneath the date, sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, a single cent that could have easily been forgotten in someone's junk drawer turned into a life-changing discovery. And the reason why? It's a story that still shocks coin experts to this day. The year was 1968. The Vietnam War was raging, Martin Luther King Jr. had just been lost, and Americans were looking for hope wherever they could find it. The U.S. Mint in San Francisco quietly began producing proof pennies, marked with that small but powerful S below the date. Most were flawless, mirror-shiny coins meant only for collectors. But a few, just a few, slipped through the cracks. Somehow, mistakes were made. And those mistakes would turn ordinary copper into pure treasure. It all started with a minting anomaly that no one expected. In rare cases, the 1968 S penny showed a doubled die, a subtle doubling of the letters in Liberty, or In God We Trust. To the untrained eye, it looked like a shadow, a trick of the light. But to collectors, that tiny doubling transformed the coin's value from 1 cent to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some experts believe fewer than a handful of these coins exist in pristine condition. And that scarcity? That's what pushes their price past $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When one of these rare 1968 S-proof pennies surfaced at auction, the bidding war was unlike anything collectors had ever seen. Dealers, investors, even museums fought to get their hands on it. The final hammer dropped just over $1.1 million, for a penny that had once been worth only 1 cent. The headlines exploded. Overnight, the 1968 S penny went from forgotten proof to a numismatic legend. Collectors were shocked. How could such a small imperfection, a doubling of a few letters, create $1 million miracle? But that's the magic of coin collecting. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes, the smallest detail changes everything. And if you think the excitement ended there, think again. Because the mystery behind how these coins were even made still baffles experts today. You see, in 1968, the San Francisco Mint was transitioning its equipment and retooling its dies. The tiniest vibration, a split-second misalignment, or even a minor shift in pressure could cause doubling during the strike. Normally, such coins were caught and melted down before release. But some of these proof errors escaped, and they made their way into the hands of ordinary people. One of those people, decades later, would unknowingly hold a $1 million penny in their collection. One man, a lifelong collector from Ohio, had been sifting through his father's old coin albums when he spotted something unusual. The Liberty on one 1968 penny looked just slightly off, thicker, shadowed, almost blurry. He pulled out a magnifying glass and froze. It wasn't wear. It was doubling. He sent it to be graded, and weeks later the results came back. 1968's proof Lincoln cent, doubled die obverse. It was worth hundreds of thousands. And today, that same variety could fetch over $1 million at auction. But here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. Not every 1968's penny is valuable. Only those with that rare doubled die or ultra-high-grade proof strike. That's what makes finding one so thrilling. You could search 1,000 pennies and never see one. Or you could open an old roll from a garage sale and find your retirement fund hiding inside. The chance is slim, but it's real. And that's why collectors never stop looking. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On the obverse side, pay close attention to the inscriptions, Liberty and In God We Trust. If you notice any shadowing or doubling, you could be holding a treasure. The mint mark S should also look sharp and well defined, but on certain varieties, there's even minor repunching, another sign of rarity. Combine that with pristine mirror-like proof fields, and you've got a coin that serious buyers would fight over. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins whenever one appears. The demand for proof errors from the 1960s has exploded, and prices have soared in recent years. Even coins graded as simple Proof 67 or Proof 68, if they have the doubling, are commanding huge numbers. Collectors are paying premiums, hoping to own a piece of minting history. And while the U.S. Mint has since perfected its process, coins like the 1968's penny remind us that perfection wasn't always the goal. Sometimes, imperfection created fortune. A few researchers believe there may still be ungraded examples sitting in private collections, coins that no one has noticed yet. If true, one of those could surface any day now, setting a new record and reigniting the frenzy all over again. It's not impossible. These pennies were struck over half a century ago, and many ended up in the hands of casual collectors who never checked for errors. One dusty coin jar could still hold $1 million surprise. Start by checking any proof sets from 1968, especially those with an S mint mark. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, and study Lincoln's face, the inscriptions, and the mint mark carefully. Look for crisp, reflective surfaces and doubling on the letters. If your coin has even a hint of this effect, get it authenticated by a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Don't clean it, don't polish it, that could ruin the value. Handle it by the edges, and let the experts confirm your find. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too. The beauty of coin collecting is that these treasures don't just live in museums. They live in ordinary homes, tucked in drawers, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to find them. Every day, collectors uncover coins worth thousands simply because they took the time to look closer. And with the 1968's Lincoln penny, that story is more real than ever. Because somewhere out there, another one of these rare proof errors might still be waiting, forgotten, unrecognized, and worth a fortune. It's stories like this that remind us, the smallest things can hold the biggest secrets. And that's what makes this hobby so magical. Every coin has potential, and sometimes, that potential is worth $1 million. So the next time you come across a 1968 penny with that little S below the date, don't ignore it. Take a second look. Because that exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It started with a handful of change, nothing special. Just a few coins jingling in a pocket after buying coffee. But one of those coins was different. It looked ordinary at first glance, yet it was hiding a secret worth more than a house, more than some people earn in a lifetime. That single 1988 penny without a mint mark would later sell for over $1 million. Most people would have spent it without a second thought. But this coin wasn't supposed to exist, at least, not in the way it did. It was a fluke of history, a misstep at the U.S. Mint that accidentally created one of the most mysterious and valuable Lincoln cents ever found. The story begins in the late 1980s. The Cold War was ending, MTV ruled television, and Lincoln pennies were changing in ways no one fully noticed. In 1988, a batch of pennies rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint missing one tiny but vital mark, the P Mint mark that identified where it was made. This might sound like a simple omission, but that missing mark became a golden ticket. At the time, no one cared. Pennies were everywhere, tossed in jars, dropped in car seats, lost in couch cushions. But decades later, collectors began to notice something strange. Some 1988 Lincoln cents had subtle differences in design, tiny things like the shape of Lincoln's bust, the alignment of the lettering, and even the spacing around the date. And then came the discovery that changed everything. A collector, sorting through thousands of old coins one rainy afternoon, spotted a penny that didn't quite match the others. No mint mark. A slightly sharper G in Liberty. And the Lincoln Memorial on the back, crisper, almost too perfect. He sent it off for grading, half expecting nothing. But when it came back, the graders confirmed it wasn't an ordinary coin, it was a transitional error. Somehow, a 1988 penny had been struck using a die meant for the following year. This mix-up created a hybrid coin that shouldn't exist, a one-year bridge between minting designs. That mistake, that microscopic difference, pushed its value beyond comprehension. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When word got out, collectors went wild. Dealers scrambled to check their inventories. Every coin row from 1988 was suddenly a potential treasure chest. One of these no-mint mark pennies later sold at auction for an astonishing $1.2 million, turning pocket change into a life-changing fortune. There's more than one variety of the 1988 penny, but only a tiny handful of these no-mint mark errors are known to exist in high-grade condition. Each one is like a fingerprint, unique, irreplaceable, and incredibly valuable. The secret behind its worth lies in the details most people overlook. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. In the genuine 1988 no-mint mark variety, Lincoln's bust shows sharper details around the chin and collar. The letters in Liberty are slightly thinner, and the date appears more closely aligned with the edge. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial features a deeper engraving, especially in the pillars and the word America. But what most collectors miss is the subtle style of the designer's initials, FG, to the right of the memorial. On the valuable 1988 no-mint mark version, these initials match the 1989 style, not 1988's. That's the smoking gun. That's how experts identify the transitional die. Thousands of people handle pennies every day. Cashiers, kids, collectors, each one possibly touching $1 million coin without realizing it. It's like holding buried treasure in plain sight. Collectors were shocked when the news broke. Coin forums lit up overnight. Some claimed to have found one, others frantically checked their jars and drawers. Even seasoned numismatists couldn't believe such a coin had slipped through unnoticed for decades. And while most pennies from 1988 are worth exactly 1 cent, the few without mint marks, and with that transitional design, are worth their weight in gold. The right coin, in near-perfect condition, can fetch over $1 million at auction. The U.S. Mint, despite its precision, occasionally makes mistakes during die transitions, especially at the end of production years. Dies intended for a future issue can accidentally be paired with leftover planchets from the current year. It's a simple mechanical mix-up, but one that creates priceless anomalies. One collector's story still makes waves. He found his $1 million penny in an old coffee tin that had been sitting in his grandfather's garage for years. It was dark, dusty, and filled with coins from decades past. Most were worth face value, but tucked between 2 dimes was the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. When he realized what he had, he almost dropped it. A coin that might have bought a gumball in 1988 ended up paying for his dream home. And here's the twist: there could still be more out there. Experts believe several of these error coins were released into circulation before the mint noticed the mistake. Many may have been lost, damaged, or simply sitting unnoticed in jars and drawers across America. You might ask, well, it's time to check. Grab your magnifying glass and a good light. Start with your 1988 pennies. If there's no mint mark under the date, don't spend it just yet. Inspect the reverse. Look for the FG initials. If they match the 1989 style, you might just be staring at a coin worth a fortune. Dealers are still searching, offering thousands just for unverified leads. Some collectors spend entire weekends combing through rolls of pennies from the bank, chasing that one in a million find. It's the thrill of discovery, the dream that a simple penny could change everything. Every year, new varieties are discovered, and coins once considered ordinary become national sensations. But this one, the 1988 no mint mark penny, remains one of the most hauntingly valuable of them all. It's more than a coin. It's a symbol of hidden potential. Proof that even the smallest, most overlooked thing can carry unimaginable worth. So, before you toss that handful of change on your dresser tonight, take one more look. Because buried among those copper coins could be a piece of American history worth over $1 million. The next story the coin world talks about might be yours. If you love discovering secrets like this, coins that turn ordinary people into millionaires, don't forget to subscribe. Because the next rare penny might already be in your pocket, just waiting for you to find it. But that penny, a 2017 Lincoln with a tiny D mint mark, would soon shock the entire coin world. It was nearly thrown away, ignored, forgotten, until someone looked just a little closer. What they discovered turned an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-lifetime find worth over $1 million. Most people never glance twice at their pennies. They drop them in a jar, leave them on the counter, or let them vanish into the couch cushions. But this 2017 D penny was different. Something had gone wrong, or maybe, perfectly right, inside the Denver Mint. A small, almost invisible minting error transformed this everyday coin into a modern treasure. And when collectors found out, the bidding wars began. But what exactly made this coin so valuable? It wasn't the year. 2017 was a routine mintage. Billions of pennies rolled out that year. The secret lay deep within the die itself. A slight misalignment, a doubling, or perhaps a struck-through grease error, the kind of flaw most people would miss unless they looked under a microscope. Yet, it's precisely that kind of detail that separates a 1-cent coin from one worth $1.3 million. It looked normal until I tilted it under the light, then everything changed. Under the right angle, the lettering on "In God We Trust" appeared doubled, and the D mint mark seemed slightly distorted, not just pressed, but almost echoed, as if the coin had whispered its own secret into metal. That was the clue that set off a frenzy. Word spread fast. Dealers called each other in disbelief. Could a 2017 D penny, one from our own pockets, really be worth over $1 million? The story didn't end there. The first confirmed discovery sent shockwaves through online forums. Collectors scrambled to check their spare change, posting blurry photos and asking, "Is this the one?" Auctions lit up overnight. A single example, authenticated and graded in mint state, sold for a staggering amount, nearly $1.3 million, because of its perfect storm of rarity, condition, and that mysterious error. But what happened next stunned everyone. More 2017 D pennies began surfacing, not many, but enough to make experts question how such an error could have slipped through modern minting controls. The U.S. Mint is famous for its precision, especially in recent decades. So how did this one sneak by? Some say it was a single die pair that wore down in just the wrong way, creating a shadowed, almost ghostly doubling effect. Others think it might have been a one-time press malfunction, a freak accident that produced a handful of miracle coins before the machinery reset. The Denver Mint itself hasn't confirmed much, but whispers among insiders suggest that fewer than 10 genuine examples may exist in high-grade condition. That's rarer than many classic key-date coins. To put it into perspective, that's fewer known examples than the legendary 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die Coins that sell for hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, depending on their grade. One collector told his story to a local newspaper. He was a retired mailman, someone who'd spent decades handling thousands of envelopes filled with coins and stamps. One day, he was sorting his grandson's change when a 2017 penny caught his eye. He noticed something odd about Lincoln's face, a faint doubling on the nose, almost like a shadow. Curious, he sent it off to be graded. Weeks later, he got the call. The expert on the other end said, "Sir, I don't know how to tell you this, but your penny is worth over $1 million. He thought it was a joke, until the first offer came in. Then the second. Then the third. But this story isn't just about luck. It's about awareness. How many of us have handled thousands of pennies without ever stopping to really look? How many small fortunes have passed right through our hands because we assumed they were worthless? That's the real mystery, not how these coins were made, but how easily we overlook their secrets. If you look closely, there are a few telltale signs to spot. First, the D mint mark. It should look slightly raised, sometimes appearing doubled or faintly out of alignment. Next, inspect Lincoln's profile under strong light. Some of the valuable error versions show subtle doubling on his nose, mouth, or even the date. 2017. The lettering, Liberty, can also appear thicker or slightly shadowed. If your coin has a sharp, raised rim with no signs of wear and clear luster, it's worth checking even more carefully. One small detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Collectors across the country are now combing through their coin jars, searching for this modern miracle. Some have even started specializing in 2017 pennies, hoping to find another that matches the rare die variety. Auction houses are on high alert, ready to verify any new discovery. And with the market for rare modern coins growing faster than ever, even small errors can command shocking prices. Dealers say this coin has changed the way people look at modern pennies forever. For years, collectors ignored recent issues, assuming value only lived in old copper wheat cents or silver coins. But the 2017 mint mark penny proved that even a recent coin, one you could pull from your pocket right now, can hold a life-changing secret. It blurred the line between modern and classic collecting, inspiring a whole new generation of treasure hunters, and the excitement continues to build. Each time one of these rare 2017 errors surfaces, it reignites hope. Every coin roll searcher, every hobbyist, every curious collector starts to wonder, could the next one be mine? It's not just about money anymore, it's about the thrill of discovery, the chase, the story behind every cent you find a penny on the sidewalk. You bend down, pick it up, and see that little D. Most people would shrug and move on. But you? You remember this story? You look closer, turn it under the light, notice something strange, and your heart starts to race. That's how it happens. The moment you realize you might be holding $1 million miracle. This coin's value isn't just in its rarity, it's in its story. A 2017 coin that defied all odds, escaped detection, and ended up in the hands of someone who dared to look closer. A coin that reminds us that even the smallest things, even the most ordinary, can hide extraordinary secrets. So before you toss that penny aside, take a moment. Grab a magnifying glass, look for that tiny D. Check for doubling, inspect every curve and line. Because the next great discovery might not come from a museum or an auction, it might come from your pocket. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold for nearly $1.3 million. Dealers are still buzzing about it. And the truth is, these coins are still out there. Somewhere in circulation, hidden among billions, waiting for someone like you to notice. Imagine finding a 2016 penny, yes, the same copper-colored coin you've seen 1,000 times, sitting at the bottom of your change jar. You pick it up, ready to toss it aside. But something feels off. The shine, the texture, maybe the way the light bounces off Lincoln's jacket. You think nothing of it, until you find out that one 2016 Lincoln penny, just like it, sold for a staggering $1.40 million. That's not a typo. $1.4 million. For a penny that costs exactly 1 cent to spend. Now, How did an ordinary 2016 D penny, the kind printed by the millions, turn into one of the most valuable coins in modern history? The answer lies in a single, almost invisible mistake, one so tiny that most people would never notice it, even under a magnifying glass. But for the collector who spotted it, that mistake changed everything. Let's rewind to 2016. Denver mint presses were working overtime, striking billions of Lincoln pennies. But amid the chaos, a small batch left the mint with a rare and dramatic error, a minting flaw that would become the talk of the coin world years later. The story starts with a planchet. That's the blank metal disc that becomes a coin. Normally, each planchet is made of copper-plated zinc, carefully measured to the gram. But a handful of 2016 planchets came out slightly thicker, slightly heavier, and slightly off in tone. No one noticed. They were fed into the minting press like any other. The presses came down with over 60 tons of pressure, imprinting Lincoln's face, the date, 2016, and that little D mint mark for Denver. But that's where the magic, or rather the mistake, happened. On some coins, the die shifted ever so slightly, leaving a faint doubling on Lincoln's eye and the lettering, Liberty. This doubling wasn't uniform. It wasn't obvious. But under magnification, you could see it, a ghostly second image that gave the coin an otherworldly look. Collectors call it a double die error, and in rare cases like this one, it can skyrocket a penny's value from 1 cent to over $1 million. But that's not all. Some of these rare 2016 D pennies were struck on experimental planchets, blanks that weren't supposed to be used for pennies at all. These might have been test metals or transition pieces, meant for internal use. Somehow, they escaped the mint's control, landed in circulation, and quietly began their journey through cash registers, vending machines, and pockets across America. One of these pennies ended up in the hands of a Colorado man who almost didn't take a second look. He noticed the penny looked slightly different, a subtle shine, a strange weight, and decided to check it under a magnifier. What he saw stunned him. The doubling on Liberty was clear, the edge looked thicker, and the surface shimmered in a way no normal penny should. He sent it off for grading, expecting maybe a few $100s in value. But when the coin came back from the experts, it was labeled 2016 D Lincoln Cent, double die obverse, experimental planchet, MS 68. That grade alone meant it was nearly perfect. The estimated value? $1.40 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to recheck their 2016 pennies. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, and here's where the story gets even more fascinating, because yes, there could be. Experts believe several more of these ultra-rare 2016 D errors are still out there, circulating quietly among everyday change. Maybe in a cash register, maybe in a tip jar, maybe in your glove compartment. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin's discovery reignited the debate over how modern mint errors could still slip through today's high-tech systems. The Denver Mint prides itself on precision, yet somehow, this penny defied every safeguard. Dealers described it as the ghost coin, because so few had seen one, but everyone had heard of it. One major auction house even offered a standing reward for anyone who could produce another verified specimen. That's how legendary it became. Now, let's talk about what you need to look for, because this story isn't just a fairy tale. You could be sitting on a similar treasure right now. Grab a magnifying glass and a bright light. Examine any 2016 penny with a D mint mark, that small D, just below the date. Focus first on Lincoln's eye. If you notice even the faintest doubling, a shadow or extra curve in the shape, that's your first clue. Next, check the word Liberty. On rare examples, you'll see slight doubling on the letters, especially the B and E. The minting pressure may have caused ghosting or overlapping that's visible only under light reflection. Then look at the edges. Some rare 2016 D pennies struck on the wrong planchet feel subtly thicker, and if you compare them to a normal penny, you might notice the difference immediately. But here's the clincher, the weight. A standard 2016 penny should weigh around 2.5 grams. If yours weighs more, around 3.1 or 3.2 grams, that's a huge red flag, and possibly a huge payday. And don't forget the color. A few of these $1,000,000 coins have a duller copper tone, less shine, more bronze. Because of the experimental metal mix, collectors are still buzzing about this. Coin forums, YouTube channels, and online marketplaces are full of people hunting for this coin. Some claim to have found one. Most haven't. But the hope, that thrilling, 1 in a million chance, keeps everyone looking. Imagine being the next person to pull one from circulation. You'd go from pocket change to millionaire overnight. One man's pocket change became a $1,000,000 miracle, and yours could too. Not every double die or odd-looking penny is worth millions. Condition matters. Rarity matters. The exact type of error, that combination of double die, planchet variation, and mint mark, is what makes the 2016 D so special. Still, the possibility is there. That's what keeps collectors searching year after year. Because sometimes, the smallest coins tell the biggest stories. Grab every 2016 penny you can find. Check for that D mint mark. Examine it carefully, weigh it, and if something feels different, don't ignore it. That 1-cent coin could hold the key to a $1,000,000 surprise. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the rarest modern pennies ever made, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Because next time, we're uncovering another coin that collectors say could make you a millionaire, and it might be hiding in your pocket right now. It started like any other day. A man in Ohio was cleaning out an old coffee can full of loose change, nickels, dimes, and a handful of pennies that hadn't seen daylight in years. One coin slipped through his fingers and clinked onto the floor. When he picked it up, something about it felt different. The color, the weight, the way the light caught its surface. That single penny, an ordinary-looking 2006 no mint mark Lincoln penny, would soon be appraised for over $1.5 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1-cent coin, the kind most of us ignore, worth over $1 million. But how? What could possibly make a modern penny from 2006, a year when billions were minted, so incredibly valuable? Let's dive into this unbelievable story. Back in 2006, the U.S. Mint was producing Lincoln Memorial pennies by the billions. Most were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which, as you probably know, doesn't use a mint mark. On the surface, there was nothing unusual about these coins. But deep within the minting process, a rare and costly mistake slipped through, a misalignment so precise and microscopic that only the most watchful eyes could ever notice it. This was no ordinary mint error. Collectors would later call it the invisible flaw, a defect so subtle that under certain lighting, it disappeared entirely. But under magnification, the truth was astonishing. The planchet, the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, had been struck with the wrong die combination. One side carried a faint trace of doubling, and the copper layer had inconsistencies that revealed hints of zinc beneath. It wasn't until a collector magnified his 2006 penny that he realized the lines in Lincoln's jacket and the "In God We Trust" inscription appeared doubled. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin was authenticated by a top grading service, it scored an unprecedented grade, Mint State 70 with a verified double die obverse. That's perfection. And that's what sent its value skyrocketing. Within weeks, the story made its way into numismatic circles. Dealers were scrambling to recheck their 2006 pennies. Auction houses were flooded with calls. Everyone wanted to know if their jar of change might be hiding a $1 million penny. But here's where the story gets even stranger. This wasn't just a one-off accident. Experts believe a small number of 2006 pennies were struck under the same flawed conditions, a combination of slightly misaligned dies and uneven pressure during the minting process. These coins slipped through quality control and went into circulation unnoticed. Some estimates suggest fewer than 20 may exist. 20 coins out of billions minted, each potentially worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe it. One lucky man found his in a parking lot. Another discovered his in a roll of coins from a local bank. Every new find sent shockwaves through the community. And every auction seemed to push the price higher. from $100,000 to $500,000 and eventually past the $1,000,000 mark. But what makes these pennies so captivating isn't just their rarity, it's their mystery. For years, no one could confirm exactly how the error occurred. Some speculated it was a die clash. Others believed it was a transitional planchet error, a leftover blank from a previous minting composition accidentally used in 2006. One theory even suggests a few experimental strikes were made as tests for a possible new finish and somehow escaped the mint's vault. Imagine that, a secret test coin, hiding in your pocket change. By the time collectors realized what was happening, the hunt was on. People were tearing open penny rolls, emptying jars, checking every coin under magnifying glasses. And it's still happening today. Somewhere, another one of these elusive 2006 no-mint mark pennies could be sitting in someone's kitchen drawer, completely unnoticed. Now, let's pause for a moment. Because this is where it gets exciting for you. The answer lies in the details. Start by checking the date, 2006, no-mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. Flip it under a good light or, better yet, a jeweler's loupe. Look carefully at Lincoln's eye, his jacket lines, and the Liberty inscription. If you see signs of doubling, faint extra outlines or thickness in the letters, you might be holding something extraordinary. Next, look at the color and surface. Some of the known valuable specimens have an unusually rich copper tone, almost reddish gold, because the plating layer was applied unevenly. If you spot a penny that looks slightly different from the others in brightness or hue, don't dismiss it. That's how one collector caught his $1,000,000 find. And finally, check the coin's condition. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Coins with sharp details, no scratches, and full mint luster can fetch astronomical prices. One collector's 2006 penny in near-perfect mint state sold privately for over $1.5 million, setting a record no one expected for a modern Lincoln penny. But even more remarkable is how many people have come close, only to miss the tiny details that make the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1,000,000 miracle. Dealers have said time and again, it's the penny everyone overlooks. You might have spent it at a gas station. You might have given it as change. And yet, it could have changed your life forever. One man, a retired teacher from Michigan, told his story in an interview. He'd been collecting pennies for decades but had never checked his 2006 batch. One night, while watching TV, he randomly pulled a few from his jar, and one caught his eye. The lettering looked thicker. He sent it off for grading, and months later, he received a phone call that made his hands shake. His 2006 no-mint mark penny was one of the rarest ever discovered, appraised at over $1,000,000. He said, "I almost spent it on coffee." Think about that. A coin worth $1,000,000 almost used to buy a cup of coffee. That's why these stories matter. Because they remind us that life-changing luck doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes, it jingles quietly in your pocket. Now, before you go running to your coin jar, here's a quick warning. There are plenty of imitation coins out there, plated copies, polished fakes, and artificially doubled surfaces. Don't get fooled. True doubled dies have sharp, clean lines, not wavy or blurred ones. If you think you've found one, don't clean it. That can destroy its value. Instead, keep it safe and get it authenticated by a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC. Only then will you know for sure. Because remember, the difference between a penny and a $1,000,000 penny comes down to one microscopic detail. And that's exactly why collectors are obsessed. Every time you pick up a coin, you're holding history. A tiny piece of metal that's traveled through time, through hands, through stories. The 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just rare, it's a reminder that miracles can hide in the most ordinary places. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a closer look. Flip every coin. Because your next penny might not just be spare change, it could be the start of your $1,000,000 story. And if you love discovering hidden treasures like this, don't forget to subscribe. We've got more unbelievable coin secrets coming, stories that could change the way you look at every cent in your hand.